carry. All rise, pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. Steve Merkel.
Here.
Samantha Hayes is here. Jim Patello.
Here.
Mark Munt.
Yes.
And so we have Steve Hoyt out and Tim is out.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes of January 28th.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, passes. All four. Old business, we got, is this Donald Libby? Is he here?
No, he asked after we publish that to come next week. So that's his third push.
Whatever.
Yeah. You want to let him know if he doesn't show up next, if he tries to push it again, that we're just going to go off of what we think it should be?
Yep, can do that.
I'm still going off of what I think it should be.
Oh, yeah. We also got a letter last week in from LRTV asking for money. They sent it in late. It was $2,500.
From who?
What is it?
LRTV Club.
Oh, Lake Region ATV Club. That's right.
The
Lake
ATV
Region,
Club.
oh, ATV,
Yeah, ATV.
not the snowmobile club.
No.
No.
ATV,
Different.
four-wheelers, side-by-sides.
And they're asking for 25, which you guys all know. And an update came in from the library, and they've reduced their request by 2,000.
That's it?
That's it. Yeah, not.
So you guys updated that on your end?
No, he just sent it, I think,
Oh,
like
okay.
today or yesterday.
Yep.
But I will. Anything else underneath old business? Hearing none. All right, on to new business.
Are you gonna leave on that, or you want me to?
What's that?
I'm sorry?
Did you wanna leave that, or you want me to?
Oh, the revenue?
Revenues?
Sure, I can talk about it. I
Yep.
was just documenting this library thing.
Yeah, I did too.
All right, so revenues is section 2. So everything on here is pretty much what we've listed in previous years. I know last week when we were looking at the dates were off. I've updated those dates and validated the numbers from previous years. So it's correct now, and reprinted it and gave you guys all a copy. Everything in red on these revenues are items that are not included in the other revenues calculation when we do the tax commitment, because they're listed separately on the tax assessment form. So if you're wondering why those are highlighted in red, that is just to remind me that I can't include those numbers on the form. But everything else, if there's anything specific you have questions on, rather than just going by previous year's budgets, Randy did a 3-year average, pulled some data that was basically the 3-year average of what we actually received in these accounts. And we made the decision on those anticipated revenues based on those numbers versus just using previous budget numbers. And so if you see any differences, that's probably why. A couple things we used to include in revenues is a trust fund from the chaplain fund that we have, and because we don't have any expenses planned or anticipated out of that, we're not going to include, because it's a restricted fund. We can only use those funds for very specific things. And the same thing goes for our fuel assistance donation program that we have. We don't plan, we don't have any type of anticipated expenses, and we only can spend specifically, there's rules in regards to that as well. Abatements, I put a note on there that we move that to an expense, and we'll get to this also when we talk, when we go over our assessing fees. For some reason, the last couple of years, they listed abatements as a negative number in revenue. I don't know why they did that. We're not even allowed to enter a negative number in the budget for revenue. So it's supposed to be listed as an expense, so I talked to the auditor on, where to move that, so we are creating an expense account for that.
Can we back up a second?
Sure,
Singer Center,
yes.
that's new, this 3,600 revenue?
It's not new, no, we received that.
Oh, last year was the first year? Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
The contract did change, and it did increase. We used to have, the contract used to be kind of weird, I don't exactly know what the rent was before, but we used to make them pay for half of the electricity during the months that they were there. It's very convoluted and confusing, so previous town manager basically did an average of all those expenses and increased the rent just to make it easier, and we just cover the electricity like normal. But yeah, that's what we get paid for nine months out of the year.
Okay.
Let's see here. Oh, back to abatements. So the average expense over the last 3 years for abatements is roughly in the $9,000 range. So I moved that to an expense account under assessing, under a tax expense. So you'll see that when we go over assessing.
That, the 12,000 for renewable energy, what's that?
So that's something, I'm not sure that's something through the state, I believe. In previous years, let's see what we have for renewable. What the average
Yeah,
was.
2 years ago, we got 11,540. Last year, we got 12,400.
How come it's not listed on there?
You guys are looking, those numbers are budgeted numbers versus expense numbers.
Versus actual numbers.
Yeah,
So I don't know why they didn't put that in there, but we discovered that revenue this year. We were pulling all the little nooks, went through all the little nooks and crannies and found some of these little, pots of money that we get that we never had listed on these. And that was one of them. So we're like, okay, that's legitimate money. We're gonna put that on there.
So in the past, it just got dumped into the general fund when the check showed up?
well, no, when it goes, everything goes into an account.
Right.
It went into a
But
specific revenue account, just like everything else.
Yeah. But at the end of the year, everything washes into the undesignated fund.
It was just not an itemized revenue.
Lindsay,
Value.
And I don't know why.
save your,
Is there anything else we should highlight?
I can say,
You might want to take them off.
it looks a lot worse.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Animal control office fees, 2,700.
So when you register your dog, a portion of that goes, percentage of that, or $1 or $2, depending on the type. I think that's where that comes from.
We didn't have revenue in previous years?
We didn't enter it in the budget as revenue in previous years. And he did the math on it, and it looks like we've received an average of $2,700
Okay.
over the last 3 years.
So business licenses, the number's going down?
Yeah,
Why?
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't really have an answer for you on that. It is interesting, though.
So we have less businesses than we did before?
Yeah, either that
That
or,
kind of makes sense, right? I mean, we lost the
Who did we
galley.
lose?
The galley.
I know, but they only pay a $10.
Yeah.
They only pay a $10 fee, so we would have had to lose
what line are you on?
146.
146 under admin.
Yeah, you went from 2250 to
250 to
1900.
1900.
That means we lost 35 businesses in town. That doesn't make any sense.
It's been a downward trend for
Well, it's 22.5
3 years.
For 3 years, though.
But
Really?
that's what was
That's your
budgeted.
budget.
Oh, right.
That's the problem.
Yeah,
And
right.
that's what we discovered this year. The data on the forms that we're providing you are previous year's budget numbers, not previous year's actual numbers. And so we
So the
did
actual is probably
actual
closer to 2 grand.
calculations.
Yeah.
Whoa, wait a minute. So all these numbers are budgeted numbers?
The numbers to the left of the green column.
Yeah.
That's the amount of money that was budgeted every year. That's how the budgets have been created.
It should,
Whoa,
They
not in
say
the
act-
past,
they
it
say
wasn't like
it
that.
says actual on
was.
here though.
So I think the.
It says actual.
I know.
Yeah, it says that, but that's not what it is.
So I think.
It's actual budget.
So it's proposed budget versus actual budget. So I think actual is basically what the budget committee voted on and what was presented to the town.
But not what actually came into those
Correct.
accounts.
That's my understanding of it, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Oh,
Which is
Sounds
why
like it should
we
be actual.
pulled,
This goes back to when? Ever, forever? No.
A long time, yeah, a very long time. I would want to answer that question accurately,
Yeah.
but I can tell you it's been there for quite a while.
Yeah, that seems
So,
fine.
so we're budgeting,
Is it 10, 15 years, or is it 3, 4 years?
I've only gone back 10 years. I think it's there the whole 10 years. It's
So-
misleading because it
So
says
no-
actual.
So no one
kidding,
went in and
yeah.
actually changed the numbers, is
So-
what happened.
But it kind of makes
Like-
sense because a lot of them are round numbers and they're like,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, the same,
What's the odds that you collected
yeah,
like,
2 zeros on everything every time?
yeah.
I have no idea how long it was there. I honestly, I cannot speak to that.
I'm pretty sure it goes all the way back that way.
But it goes as far back as at least what's on this page and probably a year or two before that, because all I did was copy and paste, and if you look at these numbers, they are all round numbers, some of them are identical from one year to the next. So my suspicion is that it's been like that for a long time.
so,
But there's probably a way to
like-
produce something
like
that's
under-
actual,
We
right?
can,
like under 180 cemetery lots, the past 3 years has been 1,200, and this year we're doing 1,120?
so the reason is.
That's not even a full plot.
Oh,
Because we calculated actuals and came up with a number that was an average of the last 3 years to make it more accurate.
Okay, no, I mean, they're $300 a piece, and I know we've sold more than 4 last year.
Yeah, and even cemetery lots are restricted as well. There's a state law on that.
That's supposed to go into a fund for the procurement.
You're only supposed to spend,
So hold on a
Like-
second, no, cemetery lots, we brought that to, or I was supposed to, maybe I missed that one.
This one right here says 1,120.
I think you can spend 70% of what a lot cost is. The other 30 has to go into a perpetual care
Correct.
account. And you're only supposed to touch the interest.
Oh, that's why we came up with that number.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the actual amount that we brought in, an average in the last 3 years, was like 3,800 something or
yeah,
something
that makes
along those
sense.
lines, Yeah,
That makes sense.
but what we can actually use and spend,
Was the 12 or
Correct.
1120.
correct, thank
Which-
you, sorry that you had to
We're
remind
blowing
me.
that out when we spent
So,
46,000.
so backing up a second. Everything in here is actual. We're just talking revenues are not actual.
Correct.
Okay, okay. I feel a lot better now.
Yeah,
It's just this revenue page that, but in all the expenditures and in everybody's account, when we look at the spreadsheets, it's actual.
What, it depends, on the summary pages, it's previous budgets, not previous expenses. It's previous years what we have budgeted for, and that's how the budgets have been presented. But in terms of what is in each individual expense account, we don't have previous years. We don't have like 3, 4 years going back in there, we just have what we're presenting this year. A couple of them will have notes to say how much it's increased.
Because in the past, we would have previous year's expenditures on the spreadsheets.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I can dig into that before the next meeting, but I don't know that you got what you thought you were getting.
Well, it sounds like it.
What about the investment income? 5,000 a few years back, 9,000, and 180. What's that?
Yeah, that was a nice find that I don't know why they were putting 9,000, 8,000, and I have no idea.
But what investments?
That's all of our interest.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's anywhere from depending, I mean, it's a lot, we earn a lot in interest every
Yeah.
year. It's significantly more than 7,000 to 9,000. I think that was something Jason discovered, and so when we pull up those investment accounts, it's a lot more money than what was initially listed. So we updated that number last year, I believe.
So what's going on underneath the marine safety portion of it?
Where are you? What line?
44,
Line what?
Section 44.
section 44, line.
Second from the
601,
Oh, you're way down there?
204.
Hold on. I didn't catch
Yeah,
that.
because mooring fees are in half.
And then we have, what happened to the safety slip fees?
So essentially what was happening in previous years, when they started charging the marinas for slip fees, they were entering it under marine support rental fees. And then another account was created to track specifically that. So we created the marine safety slip fees, and so we moved it.
So we're only like getting 16,000 from all the marinas total?
Just so you
Is that what you and I
know,
were talking about the other day?
just so you know, they never collected it last year.
They never collected it last year.
Never collected it. When what's his name left, Sean left, it was never collected.
Are you talking about the slip fees?
Yes.
We've collected slip fees.
Not last year, you didn't.
Last year is in from when to when?
This budget is what you're talking about.
You talking about dock fees?
You talking about
Yeah.
dock fees, mooring fees?
Yeah, we
Not mooring
collected,
fees,
Not
I'm talking
mooring
about the
fees, those are
marinas.
That, like
The four marinas who
3,500
pay-
to each one.
The four marinas who make up the
Yeah.
16,000.
the dock fees, if you go back 3 years, so not including this year, but the 3 years prior, we collected 140, then the next year we collected 1686, and then last year we collected 4587. And this year so far, we've collected 2399.
But you're talking about the slip fees.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm talking about,
We don't list it as a slip fee, right?
we do now. It's under 606.
Marine safety donations?
No.
Marine
Marine
safety
safety slip
donations
fees.
is 604. So that was something else,
What's the support rental, so you're telling me it used to be under support rental fees?
I do believe so, and the
That's what that
606
1460
actually
is?
is called, this was a little confusing, it is called marine safety donations, but on another report, it was slip fees, so we updated the accounting to say slip fees. Let me clarify that a little bit more, I thought I had it under control, apparently not. So 606 is where we're going to be at least putting the marine safety slip fees. And I did pull a report.
And that's coming from the marinas?
Correct.
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
but the year ending in July
Yep.
of last year, they did not collect them.
Then the
So Sean
harbor
did
master
not
needs to
collect
go.
it.
Sean did not collect them.
Well, Sean wasn't around.
Well, he was around until May 1st.
Of the year ending 2025, we collected slip fees. We may not have collected all of them. I can go pull the revenue report right now if you want me to, but we absolutely collected in 24, 25.
24, 25.
So when they rent a slip to somebody,
Ended in
we
June
get a
of
percentage.
last year.
Okay.
But starting in July of this year, I don't believe we've collected any yet. The current year that we're in right now, I don't believe we have collected any.
You haven't, because they usually collected in the summer.
Right.
Right.
That sounds like a good conversation for the town manager to have with the harbor master,
Correct.
to go get those.
It's being looked into.
Hint, hint, wink, wink, not judge.
So why
the
are mooring fees going way down to 37,000?
Drastically lower. When I thought this year we went up on
Right.
mooring fees.
We raised mooring, that number can't be right.
This was the
It's
last.
not, it's not, you're looking at budget again. So mooring fees, if you go back, where's my lead page here? Let me get my
But why is
years
it
right.
budgeted so low if it was 62 and then 54 the year before? And if
Okay.
we know we went up, why are we going down so low?
Let me explain. So in 2023, 2020, fiscal year 23, fiscal year 24, and fiscal year 25. So when I say 3 years ago, I'm talking about 23.
Okay.
If you look at mooring fees in 23, we collected 30,116. In 24, we collected 34,542. And in 25, we collected 45,385. So the budget numbers were never in alignment with what we collected.
What?
Yeah,
Okay, but we should collect at least 45 this year, probably,
Right.
not 37.
What's the new
Right.
mooring fee?
Off the top of
50,
my
what is
head, I
it?
don't know.
55?
No, I think it's $65 this year.
65.
Yes.
We should collect 52,000 because there's over 800 moorings in the town of Naples.
Right.
So that number should at least be 52,000.
So again, if the harbor master is not collecting, is that who the harbor master needs to be collecting these also?
mooring fees, yes.
So there's a conversation that needs to be had there with the harbor master.
Well, I don't believe the harbor master because they lost a code enforcement officer. I don't believe the harbor master went around the lake to check and see if moorings had tags on it.
Oh, yeah, he did.
He did, he actually did.
Yep.
I put the jet ski in the water for him multiple times for that.
Yep.
So can you give us those numbers again give us
Yeah.
those
30.
23, it was 3116.
23, 24 or 22, 23?
22, 23.
Was how much?
3116.
Yeah, 31,
30,116.
Yep.
okay,
Then the next year it was 34,542.
yeah.
And then the next year it was 45,385.
And then what was 25, 26?
We're not through the year yet, so year to date, we've only collected 5,600. But for the same period that we collected 45,385, they budgeted 62,940.
Oh.
Almost 20 grand more than we collected.
And see, wasn't this a 3-year project, Jim, that
Yeah.
we went up 3 years?
Yeah.
Consecutive?
But,
But the harbor master does not collect these.
Right.
They come in, they get their sticker, they fill out their application.
so it's 65, it's 65
I think it's
this year.
65 this year,
This year. What was it last year?
50 something?
And then the year before that was 40.
Right.
So 45,385 divided by 40. 45,385 divided by 40 is 1,100 moorings.
Yeah, that's not right.
Ain't right.
Well, we just need
Well,
to
some
dig into
people might
this.
have, does some people have two?
Yeah, but that counts the two. They should, I hope it's 1,100 moorings.
Well, let's hope so.
Yeah.
Well, what if you take the next year, the 45,385, and divide it by?
That's what I just did. All right, that's why I asked that question in my email to you, Randy. How many moorings we had and what did we collect for revenue?
Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't had a chance to dig into that
Yep.
yet.
So I guess under recreation, why is the day camp down 11,000 when we have a waiting list to get into day camp?
Right. Right, actually, we had like
I
80
think we
kids
were-
this year.
Yeah, we had a record number this.
Record number this year.
I think we were being conservative, I don't remember why we had it, I think we did the average, but it is going up, it's probably gonna be above 80,000.
Right. it's gonna
When
be-
you do a 3-year average and it's climbing, you're gonna skew to the low end, right?
Well, yeah, but
That's-
I understand you doing
Yeah.
3-year averages to accounts like fuel assistance or some of these small accounts.
Yeah.
When you get to something like day camp, we know it's growing every year.
Right.
Can't use a 3-year average.
No,
No.
we'll look at that one.
Pat, under Breck and 962, Kent's Landing, is that just my boat launch fees?
Yes. I think so.
Yeah, I believe it is.
Non-resident.
Wow, that's pretty high.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Don't say it's too high. We don't want to go backwards. 6.
This is the $20 fee? Is that what that is, the $25 launch fee?
$20 fee.
20,
but
right, $20 launch fee.
Yeah. It'd been better if I actually collected for the amount of boats that we launched. but- Okay.
260 boats over the summer?
Huh?
That kind of
We collect 260 boats, that's how
We
many?
launched 1,995 boats out of that boat launch this year.
Right,
260 of them are the only ones that paid.
okay.
I mean, it's not bad.
No, not bad.
If you took 1,995 boats times $20,
Well, why aren't they all being collected?
because.
Because they're not all, because there's some
Because
residents
Naples residents and guests don't have to pay.
are in there, yeah, okay. So it's factored into that
Yep.
number. All right.
But that should be added to your list as one of the potential future revenues.
Yeah.
Even if it's $10 for a resident, 20 for,
I mean, in the years, they're not building any boats in London.
Personally, with the fact that, and I know we're getting off subject, but with the fact that you can't launch a boat, a public, you can't launch at any of the marinas.
right,
It's $20. Flat rate, everybody pays, launch your boat.
I agree.
I mean, we could even make everyone pay and go down.
That's,
You could
that's
go
40
down to 15 bucks
That's
then.
40,000.
Yeah, could go down $15 and just have everyone pay.
Give us
Can't really
seasons
last
pass.
Right.
Unless it's a
Yeah.
really wet spring.
I mean, because that 1,995 boats also includes the businesses using our boat launch. And we still inspect those boats that are getting even from the businesses.
So, how many boats?
1,995 boats. That was in my report to DEP.
They know about anyways.
Great.
People aren't there 24/7.
Any other questions on the revenues? So just so I'm clear, we're gonna be digging into mooring fees, slip fees, day camp, validating that number.
And then what we make a recommendation to the select board to hire the dock slips?
To do what now?
So do we just make a suggestion to the select board to hire the dock slips?
Raise, you mean?
Raise them. I'm very much in favor of that, suggesting.
I think Colin's already thinking that way.
What, when you say docks, are you talking about boat slips?
The boat slip.
To
At
increase
marinas.
the marinas.
At the
Yeah, I have a better idea for that.
Not a
You were the one that
bundle.
got us into this predicament.
Not a
No,
bundle.
I didn't, we're the ones that collected revenue, then we never collected.
Right, but it doesn't need to be a bundle, it needs to be a per slip fee.
Correct. Correct.
All right, anything else for revenues? All right, offsetting. Where's that at? You know what?
It's the same, I don't, revenues for offsetting municipal taxes, what did you want to?
You saw everything there,
Okay, all right,
yeah.
all right. Dispatch.
Tab 17.
Yeah, not much to talk about there. Received communication. That they were gonna, oh, yeah, there isn't much to talk about on that one. We have a known contract on that, a 3-year contract.
I think it's 4-year and we are on year 2.
Yeah, we're on year 2 and it's 3.
What page?
It's tab 17.
Here's the contract.
Oh, you have it?
Yep. So we know the number.
This dispatch,
Yep. Yeah, so the number you have is the number.
Have you notified the warden service that we want it, even though?
Not
we-
yet. No, I have it on my to-do list though.
Yeah.
Actually, we've captured it in the meeting
Right,
minutes as well.
right, yeah.
And I added it back, talking about the 11,000 for the, yeah, I added it back in too, so it's, I know we had zeroed it out.
I just want to make sure the state knows, because these cadets that come out of the reason they were short is they didn't have enough cadets that came out of the program. We want to make sure we get on the pecking order if they do have enough cadets.
Sanitation, that one just kind of is what it is too, right?
What is that one?
Yep.
Sam?
What page?
Sanitation,
It's-
14, tab 14.
That's the transfer station?
Yep.
What tab is it?
14?
Yeah, I've got a little bit of background I can give you on that. So the budget, so Tony Ward, who's the town manager for Casco, he's the one who puts the budget together, and then we review it with the transfer station committee. He basically kept the budget flat across the board, except for COLA. I think it's based on a 3.5% cost of living increase, and then insurance is going up 26.6% for them. So that's the only increases in the budget, but that then turns into about a $20,000 increase for Naples.
Do they have the same insurance program that we do?
They use MMA, I think.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
Yep. They use MMA.
which is
Who do we use?
Anthem.
Blue Cross.
Oh, okay.
And I know from experience, MMA is more expensive, but it's also more of a Cadillac package too, so.
Yep.
So anyways, the number is what we have. Hasn't been finalized yet, but that's what he's proposing.
So they're calculating their tipping fees at $139 per ton, 140 bucks. That's actually not terrible.
Where do you have that number?
Under 02300, second line down, it says that they're figuring at 139.98 per tonnage.
Yeah.
Because currently, if I go to Kinsella, it's $165, so.
Yeah,
And are we paying more
Waterford's
'cause
paying
there's more of us?
125.
What's Sam?
Are we paying more because there's more of us? Naples and Casco?
It's always been the dilemma.
Well, what do you mean by that, Sam?
Well, we're paying, what, a good at least 16,000 over what, in some years than what they're,
Our portion
Okay,
to
our
them is
portion
more
of
than
it?
Yeah, it's
Casco.
because of the split.
yeah.
I think it's, I've got it right here. I think it's 56,
5644.
yeah, 56-44 split. That was something that was worked out a while ago. I don't know when. Might have been a decade ago. Or when they actually, maybe when they formed the co-op. And they're talking about revisiting that, but they want to count.
Population.
They want to start counting how many people go through there. So, and to be fully transparent, I think they suspect that Naples is using it heavier than Casco is. So.
Summer months, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we're paying 56%. They say we use them more.
so do we have more of a say?
No.
Oh, we should negotiate that. All right, anything else on sanitation?
Nope.
General assistance,
What tab number is that?
that is 13.
Okay,
13.
general assistance, just got an
You need
email
a
on
hearing
that.
aid too in addition to your glasses?
Yeah, you do.
Just got an email on that, and we're being told they're gonna go up 4% on that account, which, Pat, you did the math, it's like $400.
Roughly, it's $400 or $500 for the contract.
Yeah,
So general assistance isn't just the contract, it's for what we pay to support people to utilize the general assistance. So if someone you know, we buy 100 gallons of oil for someone who gets VA, let's say it's $300. The state will reimburse us, I think it's 65 or 70% of that, but we still have to pay that 30%. So this expense includes the contract that we have with the county to run the program for us, plus the 30% that we pay for people.
How much is the contract?
It's, well, last 2 years, it was $10,445.
Oh, okay. And you said it went up,
We just found out today, it went up 4%,
so it's 11,000 this year.
roughly. And the total that we've spent in the last few years has been between the $15,000 and $16,000 range,
Yep.
which is why it was under budgeted the last couple of years. We were spending way more than what we had put on there. I think initially we just put the contract amount on there, didn't incorporate the 30% of costs, you know, that we actually pay out to the, to, you know, for the program.
We are
We are doing great.
We are very lucky that this number is only 16,000.
We are just on top of it.
25, oh. Oh, God.
I don't want to know what you're thinking of.
35 years ago, when I was mayor in Biddeford, 35 years ago, our
Yep.
number in Biddeford was $1 million.
Well, it's
For
the size-
general-
35 for general assistant, 35 years ago. It was,
Yeah, okay,
I can't even imagine what it is
We're
today.
good with 16.
Yeah, we're very good. We're very good with 16.
All right, boards and committees.
What number?
9.
One thing I will say about GA is that the way the state law reads on that is you gotta spend what you gotta spend.
Correct.
Yeah. That's why, I think they reimbursed 75.
They went up to 70. I think it used to be 65, they went up to 70%. I think, I'm not 100% certain on that. I think it is 70% now.
Yeah, that is what it is. It's better
Nothing's-
than $1 million.
Nothing's changed on boards. and
Boards.
committees.
So you know in Bridgeton, they only pay $1,300 each for the select board?
Yeah, it's all over the place. I've done a salary survey for all positions, and it depends. Like towns without town managers, there's some of them pay 10 grand.
Really?
Yep. And then once you have a town manager, they usually, it's a reduced number.
Why do we have a FICA in there? Who on the board, who collects a FICA payment?
Well, it's payroll taxes, we have to pay it.
So that's the town's portion.
Correct. Yeah, that's
Okay,
us.
okay.
That's our portion. The same with the paid family member, the FMLA or PFML.
So,
That's our portion.
so when the town pays a stipend, because we don't, so when the town pays a stipend, we still have to pay Social Security, Medicare and all that?
So I'm actually glad you said that, because,
No, I thought
we
that,
do have to pay FICA Medicare, but paid FMLA.
Yeah.
This is one of those positions that is considered exempt.
yeah,
I mean, it's only $78, but
No,
I'll
no.
remove it.
yeah. I thought the others were also exempt, so it's not, even if it's just a stipend? Really?
Yeah, because these are, believe it or not, the amount we pay them is considered a nominal fee, and they're considered volunteer
Yeah,
positions.
yeah.
So they don't have to pay into FMLA. Same with our election workers. Those are the only two, because we pay them a tiny amount.
Right,
They only
right.
work once or twice a year. They're considered volunteers.
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna make a suggestion later on to lower that or get rid of it completely.
What?
The stipend out to the select board.
To get rid of it?
Or at least lower it down to 1,300, if not, get rid of it. Absolutely.
For the
Especially when we
stipend?
have the chair of the select board that's also now an employee, causing an ethical issue. We can just take out the money and then it causes less of an ethical issue. Because if we're gonna allow employees to sit on the board,
That is allowed, is when you have a town manager.
It's an ethical issue. Especially when you
That-
find your own truck, you track it down, you negotiate for it, and then you sign for it. It's an issue.
Yeah.
You wanna go ask your attorneys about that one?
Huh?
You wanna ask your attorneys about that one?
I already have talked to the attorneys.
No, you wanna let them
about
know that you did all the truck work, and then you guys cut the video at the end, so that in the meeting minutes didn't reflect the fact that he signed on his own paperwork?
Nobody did anything like that at all.
You know that's exactly what happened.
No, it is not. No.
Anything else on any boards and committees?
I'll do a salary survey on what other select boards pay. If you're gonna make a recommendation like that, let's make sure we got the data.
Yeah, I went by Bridgeton.
Huh?
I went by Bridgeton.
That's one
If you
town.
want me to look up Casco and Harrison,
have
I
it all.
absolutely can,
I
and
have it all.
Raymond, I absolutely will look it up.
I have it
to See
all.
what they're paying each one.
Yep, I've looked at all that. Waterford gives $5,000 to selectmen.
But you don't have a town manager.
We don't have a town
Right,
manager.
that's the difference.
So that's the difference.
I mean, in Waterford,
I'm
but,
just saying, some towns are 10 grand.
you know what? I've
Because under
surveyed-
that, because after that, we're under 2,000 away from the difference. Because we're giving the board, the
So-
chair, it's 3,500 and 3,000 to everyone else that sits on
It
the
feels
board.
like it's a political statement more than it is like a budget review and about trying to save money. And that, I,
Absolutely, that's what my job is to save
no,
money.
it's not to make political
It's to
statements.
save money.
Yeah.
And I brought this up last year.
I would agree with saving money, but I don't think it's to make a political statement.
How long's it been since we've been paying them?
I don't think it's changed in a
Let's just
long
have the
time.
survey. Let's
Huh?
have the
Yeah, I'll do it.
Has it been a long time?
Yeah, it hasn't changed in a long time.
Planning board doesn't get paid anything.
Colin made a recommendation 2 years ago that the planning board get paid. And it got voted down,
Yeah, I should.
yeah.
I kind of think this like board could be volunteer too, but, do you think we would have a hard time finding people?
No,
I don't either.
I don't think people do it for the money anyways.
I don't either. I guess they probably do spend a little more time in the planning board, but
All right, assessing,
planning board's sort of up and down, whereas select board, it's always, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but they have twice as many meetings too. But planning board does a lot of prep work.
Yes.
I initially, my first assessing form that I put in the budget was, we didn't have an estimate yet from the assessor's company, so I increased it, but since then, we got an estimate for 60,000, so that remains the same.
60 or 65?
No, 60 for O'Donnell.
So they went down?
No,
Yeah, I
since
thought it was
last year we paid 60.
Oh, well, it says 65 on here.
We budgeted for 65.
That one's the
Oh.
old, that one's the old
I don't
one.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Budget,
that's a
yeah,
new one.
but
So I gave you a new one
confusing,
for
isn't it?
assessing.
Oh, I'm sorry, right here, yep.
So I reduced that to 60. The personal property assessment has, gone up consistently every year, 4 or 5%. I don't remember what I estimated, but I don't know.
How much revenue do we collect on personal property? Do we know that number?
Yeah, it's a big number.
No, I know, I just,
I want to say 200,000, but
business personal property?
yeah, oh, I can tell you.
It's on the
Yeah, it's about
taxes.
$200,000.
yep.
Yeah. What'd you say?
I was
So
gonna
what do
say
they
it's on the
actually
tax
do?
assessment.
each year? O'Donnell, other than maintain the website for our,
Oh, no, they're the ones that do all the assessments.
they come out and reassess.
They go to houses.
Every year.
New one.
Like if you build a new house or you have a new business, they go out and assess that.
Yeah, but like every year?
Yeah. Every month.
They go every year. Okay.
No,
Well,
not
they-
every
they-
property in
They don't
town.
come out, they don't come out every month, but they are out once or twice a year.
Yeah, what you do is anytime there's any type of a known change, so there's a building permit, whether it be for a deck, a shed, or a house modification,
Yeah.
that means the assessment has changed. They're gonna go and visit that and
Right.
update the tax card.
Right.
Then what they'll do is randomly, they should be going out and checking a certain number of properties just to make sure there aren't changes going on that they don't know about. So it's more of maintenance, that's a maintenance fee for the assessment. When you do a full reval, it's gonna be way bigger money.
She's saying goodbye.
Is that your daughter?
Yeah. So there are some towns that don't have like O'Donnell, what do they do? Just
They
the
have
same
their
thing on their
in-house.
own?
No, they have an in-house assessor. Like the city of Bedford has an in-house
Right.
assessor. And they have a whole department, it's not just the assessor, they have several
Yeah.
people. City of Portland's probably got 10 people in the assessing office.
So is this amount worth it?
Yes, absolutely.
is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you hired a full-time assessor, you'd be paying $80,000, not to mention his assistant and
Is there
the
another-
office and everything else
Is there
that
another
goes with
company
it.
that could do it for less?
The two big companies around here are O'Donnell and KRT Appraisals.
Right, and we went out to bid. I was still on the chair, on the board, so I'd say 4 or 5 years ago, we went out to bid and they were the cheapest.
And there's no
Waterford
one else new?
just did a bid too, and we ended up picking KRT. But they were very, very competitive, yeah.
And there's no one else that's like smaller that can do it?
No, then what you end up doing is you say, okay, I'm gonna hire my own assessor, but what happens when it comes time to do a full reval?
Right.
Right.
It's a big
But there's no like
project.
smaller company out there that does this, that's maybe like
Oh,
just starting
I'm
out.
sure there are, but they're the two big
Okay.
Those
ones.
are the, okay.
Yeah.
And the only thing added to this was the abatements. We previously didn't have it listed in the expenses. We had it, like I said earlier, listed as a negative in the revenue, which we're not actually able to enter into the budget. So I don't know why we did that, but I added it. And that's the average, 9,060 is the average abatements for the last 3 years.
Right. Unanticipated?
1 second. That's the 25,000, right?
Yep.
That hasn't changed.
What was used last year, do you know?
Fireworks,
Oh, that's where it came out of fireworks?
the ones for Rocktoberfest.
Was the full 25 used?
I'm not sure.
Good portion of it.
Good portion of it. I think there were 19,000 and some change.
Okay.
The rest of it was probably used for legal expenses or auditing fees. We had a lot of things that were.
Didn't we use some of that for the Village Green project?
I
For a tree?
don't remember off the top of my head, but it was used.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, can we, Randy, I sent you a couple, since we got a little bit of time, can we talk about the different options for the bonds?
Sure.
You said you looked into
Yep.
today, right?
For the ambulance?
The ambulance and for the rec center?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the ambulance, I've got it in your meeting minutes. So I created a table for you.
The last two.
Yeah. And what I did is then I went and ranked it based on if you wanted the lowest cost of ownership or if you wanted the lowest payment.
Oh, there's this spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
I've worked for companies that, like a private equity lots of time, they want to pay the lease because they want to hold on to as much money as
Correct.
possible. Bigger companies, it's more about cash flow. They want to hold on to as much cash as possible, right? So they're willing to pay a little bit more for payment terms. So I did it both ways. And so if you wanted the lowest total cost of ownership, it's option A there, which is to borrow 200,000, take 180 out of the reserve fund at 2.9% for 5 years, which I confirmed today that they will do a 5-year, Maine Bond Bank will do 5 years. And the total cost of ownership would be $395,464. with total interest being 15,464. And then if you wanted the lowest payment, so that one has a payment of $43,000 a year for 5 years. If you wanted a lower payment, it was the same thing. You could go to the Maine Bond Bank, stretch it to 10 years, take 180 out of reserves, and you could almost cut it in half.
Oh, okay.
And then there's all kinds of other options in there.
And so
So if we take 180,000 out of the fund, we've pretty much depleted, there's what, 250 in there?
Yeah,
For all-
247 something.
Right,
Yeah.
for all fire equipment.
Yep,
249.
not equipment, but
I mean,
vehicles.
all vehicles,
Yeah.
fire vehicles.
Yeah, it would. So there's an option in here to just borrow 380 for
I
the
saw
Maine.
that.
Now, if you look at it from a payment standpoint, or up, option E in the top section there,
Yeah.
it's almost the exact same payment as the first one that I
Right,
read.
it is, and you're not
Yeah.
depleting your,
But it's-
res-
but
you're
paying out-
maintaining
paying-
the
you're
term
maintaining
and a lot
the
longer.
oh yeah,
$75.
but I mean, the life of the vehicle is 10 plus years, so,
about, roughly about 10 on an
Right.
ambulance.
wow.
The current one's 10 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah,
have
the
another
one that
one
they
a
want
couple
to
of years
replace is
behind.
10 years old.
I think 2030 is when the next one turns 10 years old.
Correct.
Well, we could do something in between. You could take 100,000 from the fund and
Or
have
Or
loan
we
to
could
280.
fund the reserve account between now and then to actually just pay for the 2030 replacement.
yeah, we can wait,
Yeah, but we need
we
to-
could also wait a year before we replace the ambulance,
Yeah.
depending on the situation, because of the situation.
Right.
They want to replace it, but,
Right, we
you
don't
know,
have to.
they don't have to.
And I will say that from a standpoint of us maintaining it, they've had multiple issues with that ambulance, just putting it out.
How many miles on it?
That I don't have on the top of my head, I've got it written down at the shop, but, because we do the oil changes and that on them. But
What's the issues they've had with it?
electrical issues between the cab and the box, they broke down at the Rotary in Wyndham
That's what you
and
said.
had to have Wyndham pick the patient up and transport it.
And that was an electrical issue?
That was an electrical issue that it took a long time for the guy to find the gremlins. So,
So
it
it's-
wasn't us, we actually.
So the issue is not the transmission or the motor or the.
No, it's actually like,
Internal stuff.
right, it's actual, not even upfitted, this is the vehicle wiring harness is caused issues.
Okay, have they fixed it?
They've spent a lot of money fixing it, yes. Currently, it is running.
So what I guess my point is,
Can they
if
wait a
everything
year?
else is going fine and we think we solved the electrical issue, maybe we can go another year.
That would be something you'd have to ask chief, so.
Rescue business.
Yeah, I know, huh? Jeez, every 10 years.
I
we
could
get-
build one for 380,000.
Well, I mean, and that's average, if you call around to all the departments around,
Going away.
Yeah.
and the sad part is you trade them in, they don't give you nothing.
Yeah,
If you're blown away for this 380,000, wait till they come to you for the ladder truck.
Yeah,
It's
that's-
over $1 million.
So that's,
yeah.
it's close to 2 right now.
Yeah.
2?
Wow. Right now.
Yeah, but you're gonna want it there if your house goes up in flames.
No. A ladder truck? Ladder truck is for a
How high-
3-story building.
how high is your house?
Ladder truck's for bricks.
Aren't you sitting on a mansion and
They use it all the time, Jim, on structure fires, chimney fires.
Right? Get your money out of it.
A ladder truck will be, it's in the near term, relative near term. Like if you had to look out within the next 10 years, the ladder truck's in there.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be 2.5 million by then.
I think Justin's considering having it rebuilt versus
Right,
replaced.
right.
But
Okay, so that answers that. And then the 200,000 for the rec center. Did you get new numbers for
Yeah,
that?
I didn't bring them for this
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay, we'll wait till then.
Yeah.
Big decisions.
Alright. Anything else from the board?
Nope.
Judy?
So next week, we're doing,
Next week is admin, clerks, and code enforcement.
oh God.
Plus, no, school's not next week, right? No, week after.
Schools are on the 18th, right?
18th, yeah.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I need a motion to adjourn?
I said so moved.
Okay.
Second.